You are about to listen to the words of Fethullah Gulen, a distinguished Islamic scholar and thinker. In this podcast, you will hear his essay, Facing the Self.
Keeping oneself under constant watch is as important as understanding oneself, seeing how our potential to goodness can be realized, and being aware of our aspects prone to evil. Otherwise, it is very difficult, maybe even impossible, to avoid lapses and to lead a life in rectitude. Failing to take the carnal soul under control may fail a person to live up to their status as the best pattern of creation. They can never be saved from certain undesirable attitudes and behaviors, and cannot gain insight into the fine mysteries in their nature. They cannot gain this insight as far as the carnal soul and fancies keep obscuring their view. One who falls to such blindness will continually experience eclipses in terms of the truth of existence and the truth of truths. Such a person cannot break free from the atmosphere darkened by dependence on the carnal soul and becomes entangled with overwhelming caprices brought by their egotistic thoughts. Their main point of reference is always themselves. This is particularly true if the cultural environment in which the person originated engenders such feelings. The social atmosphere in our time is quite murky. Masses are unaware of the purpose of creation. Those who mention such a purpose do so only with affectation or imitative faith. What is said does not go beyond lip service and does not come from the heart. For them, sacred concepts are mere arguments implemented for the sake of worldliness. Greed for wealth, the disease of attachment to the world as if it will last forever, bohemian weaknesses, and the deliberate preference of the worldly life over eternities. This is a riddle not pondered upon. In such a context, unfortunate masses are like walking dead, whereas those who bring them to this condition are like devils and Machiavellian hypocrites. Although on the outside they appear to be representatives of a noble cause, each of them is a pharaonic tyrant on the inside. "I have become a servant," Jalaluddin Rumi said, but these hypocrites let out pharaonic cries and regard everybody as slaves to themselves. In the places they visit, they make sanctimonious shows and sigh like a Sufi dervish. They mesmerize their listeners by always talking about God and His messenger, but in truth they have no true connection with them in their heart. They utter their make-believe righteous discourses, they perform as dervishes, but they never do any of that with sincerity. Each of them is so worldly minded, and their points about the sacred things they reference are nothing for them but disposable arguments to serve their own sanctimony. In the words of Asik Pasha, "A genuine dervish is one who forsakes the world. A genuine believer is one forsaken by the world. Forsaking the world, those worshippers of the world do not have a grain of that feeling and consideration. All of their voices are but growls of deception. It is so difficult to talk about their share of faith, religion, and perfect goodness. Almost all of them resemble Ibn Salul, the chief hypocrite during the Prophet's time. Their world of thoughts is foul, their behaviors are pretense, the ideal they seek is pomp and magnificence, and all they want to obtain is the world and everything it offers. They give great importance to outward appearance and wear makeup all the time. They try to fascinate those around them with embellished statements. Desperate to hide their dirty affairs, they resort to all forms of demagogy to always appear whitewashed. When their vices are revealed, they manufacture artificial news to cover them up. They do not know about purity of the heart and spirit. They deceive incognizant masses with their outwardly faithful appearance and let them follow behind. They always mention how they are heroes of truth and revival, but they have no relation with the truth nor pursue any effort for revival. Their feelings and thoughts are corrupt. They do not know that integrity is essential, that they should be sincere servants to God by breaking free from the commands of the carnal soul and fancies. Considering their mechanism of conscience, their willpower and determination is faltering. Every state of theirs is deceptive with their pretense of worship. They seem to be taking ablutions and walk to the first rank as if they would observe the prayer, but all of their acts are make-believe. Their standing and sitting at prayer are all deception. They do not know the consciousness of being seen by God. They pollute the means of ascension to God with their foul minds and spirits. Their inner worlds are not purified from the filth of affectation and sanctimony. However, servitude and prayer, salah, which is a believer's ascension, can be real only after such purification. Ismail Haki Bersevi puts this so well: "Purify your soul from the dirt of fancies. Do not consider cleanliness as a mere washing of hands and face. The unfortunate ones who cannot liberate themselves from the decoys of the carnal soul cannot be saved from leading a wavering life. They cannot give any consideration about what will happen tomorrow, what will happen further beyond, and about the day of judgment when they will be brought to account for everything they did in this world. Their conscience is closed against the principle, 'Reckon with yourself before you are reckoned with at that great tribunal.' They are not aware that this is the only way through which they can walk to the horizons of being human in the true sense. They are not aware that only with such spiritual vigilance will it be possible to curb the carnal soul and overcome their animal desires. However, these souls poisoned with giving themselves up to worldly ranks, fame, glory, status, luxury, and applause cannot even realize that they are sailing towards such a whirlpool. They cannot know about real faith, Islam, and perfect goodness, and they cannot truly feel the immensity in being human. How can they, while they dedicate themselves entirely to worldliness with their hearts, minds, eyes, and ears, as some unfortunate ones without tomorrows? However, if we do not and cannot see the present world and transient things as superficial, but totally turn to tomorrows and beyond with the entirety of our faculties and systems of feeling, then we might fall to a position of committing disrespect against our being blessed with the best pattern of creation and charged with ingratitude to God. On the other hand, no matter what we say, it is unavoidable for souls not oriented to God to be entangled by goading of the devil and carnal soul. Imam Shafi says, "If you do not busy yourself with righteous pursuits, then futile things and falsehood will capture your soul and will keep you busy." This is an important prescription entrusted to our consciences. Facing oneself seriously and leading a life in accordance with the principle, "Reckon with yourself before you are reckoned with at that great tribunal," depends on taking a resolute stance against the carnal soul and fancies and nullifying one's ego with the conviction that absolute infinity belongs to God. This is what falls to the human as a being who is impotent, poor, needy, and whose everything is entrusted by Him. For one who keeps saying "I," vistas for seeing the truth will completely be shut, and all sides will turn into a dungeon and turn pitch dark. A person of a vigilant heart and spirit voices this point so well. "You do not manifest yourself while I am appearing on the screen. The condition for your self-disclosure is my self-effacement. Even if they are in a high spiritual state of immersion and stupor, all doors to the beyond will be closed to the one who keeps saying "I," and they will start experiencing ordeals, which, as a matter of fact, are meant to turn them to the righteous path. Such unfortunate ones who do not acknowledge themselves to be nil before the infinite are subjected to divinely enforced nullification. It is as in math when the product of two negative integers is always positive, or when non-existence does not exist, then there is existence. Likewise, when one does not acknowledge their impotence and poverty, they drift away in a flood of non-existence and cannot return. This is the situation of the human vis-a-vis God Almighty as His servant. To the degree of feeling one's nothingness in the conscience, it becomes possible to extend oneself to the horizons of knowledge of God, love for God, and spiritual pleasures, as a result of which one becomes a bright mirror for the truth. Otherwise, when a person grows arrogant and starts booming with pride and conceit, then they experience concentric eclipses and become a plaything for Satan. In order not to fall into such grievous situations, one must abandon what should be abandoned and take on what must be taken on. Choices in life must be made in accordance with divine teachings so as not to regret in the near or distant future. Ibrahim Haki of Erzurum summarizes this point as follows: "Eat little, sleep little, and drink little, forsake the swamp of carnality. Migrate to the rose garden of the heart. What God will do, let's wait and see. Surely beautiful it will be." Emir Buhari of Bursa says, "The path of the Naqshbandi requires one to renounce four things: renounce the world, renounce the hereafter, renounce one's existence, renounce the act of renouncing." This is a counsel for completely turning to God by means of renouncing in terms of the carnal soul, this world, the gains and pleasures in the next world, oneself, and even the thought of having renounced everything for the sake of God. While he mentions such hard criteria for their path, Sayyid Nursi, as the spokesperson of his age, offers a new perspective with an emphasis on acknowledging human powerlessness and poverty, being zestful and thankful, and exercising compassion and contemplation. The path of powerless ones requires one to acknowledge four things: absolute poverty, absolute powerlessness, absolute thankfulness, and absolute zest. Oh dear friend, every word uttered for the sake of reading ourselves correctly, for self-reckoning, and determining our position before God is a precious statement, even though they are from different perspectives, as expressed by Muhibbi. For some, the beloved stood as elegant as a cypress. For others, as graceful as the letter Alif. Their descriptions are different, but they all mean the same. It is thanks to such statements that the heart keeps up its life with considerations of ihsan, that is, perfect goodness, and becomes illuminated. It is how one can keep up his or her position before God. Thus, the person frequently exercises self-analyses on this path. They realize a correct self-reading of both their own tainted and shining aspects with exercises of self-purification. Busy with their own self-purification, the person does not see the dirt and grime of others. Even if they see, they would mind their own business. Sometimes such a person sighs like Niyazi Misri, who said, "I did not have a wise trade. My lifetime capital is gone wasted. I came to the road, but the entire caravan had moved away unaware. I cried, lamented, and took the road lonely. The eye cries, the bosom burns, the mind overwhelmed, unaware." Sometimes, with the sincerity of the poet Layla Hanim, one exercises severe self-criticism. "I fell for the fancies of my soul and committed so many sins, O Messenger of God. How can I have the face to come to your presence?" Sometimes, with the depth of the Imam of Alvar, one can sadly open up to God and say, "Neither do I have knowledge nor good deeds, nor do I have any power for goodness, immersed in rebellions with much wrongdoing. I wonder what will become of me on the day of reckoning." And so many more have opened up to God in this regard with the consideration of facing the self. Let us conclude for now with these monumental personages who ran from one degree of self-reckoning and repentance to another, and direct our attention in the following articles to the situation of perfected ones with the following truth in our minds. The good deeds of the righteous ones, abrar, can be considered sin for those nearest to God. Help and success are from God.
You have just listened to the words of Fethullah Gulen, brought to life through an AI-generated voice. Known for his teachings on faith, interfaith dialogue, peace, and education, Mr. Gulen also inspired the Hizmet movement, a global initiative that promotes democracy, human rights, equality, and nonviolence. To learn more about Fethullah Gulen and the Hizmet movement, visit fethullahgulen.org